Hi, welcome back to Student Teaching with Riri. We're on week 6, which is pretty exciting. Almost halfway through. This coming week will be marking my halfway point, and I really want to try my best to make this video under 15 minutes. I have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to jump right into it. Also, side note, I'm wearing this outfit on Sunday because I'm going to an event. I'm also wearing this outfit to school tomorrow because I like it. So if you're watching this video right now and you see me today and then you also see me tomorrow, don't even bring it up, it's fine. Okay, let's go. Monday, there was no school. There was a snow day, which is great because I could lesson plan. So that was nice. Tuesday, I would consider my first real-ish day of teaching the kite runner. It was a very full lecture day, and luckily I didn't assign any homework originally in my calendar on Monday, so that worked out nice. The kids could catch up on reading. But we had a lot to catch up on, because at that point, they've read like 8 or 9 chapters of the book, so there was a lot to discuss. I did my first Think, Pair, Share, which I am not a fan of Think, Pair, Shares, mostly because of my own personal experience. I never liked them in high school or in college, just because I enjoyed talking about what the teacher told us to talk about, but oftentimes the conversations would derail to not talk about what we're supposed to talk about. So, but I did it because I needed to split up. We were talking about 3 chapters that day, and they were all really intense and heavy. So we did a whole class discussion on chapter 7, then we did a Think, Pair, Share for chapter 8, and then back to a whole class discussion. And it was a great way to break it up. I did some, formative assessments and walked around, listening to what they were saying, clarifying any questions, and it was really beneficial. And I think the reason why it was beneficial was because I could walk around and talk to them more intimately and personally instead of being in the whole classroom setting. And then by the end of that, we all talked as a class about chapter 8, and it was a lot more fruitful of a discussion. So that was nice. Some things that went well that day. Lesson number 10. By the way, the lesson numbers are not accurate, and that's okay with me. I hope no one here is actually keeping track of what lesson number we're on, because I am not. Lesson number 10 is silence is good when you're asking questions. My teacher had pointed out that I did a really good job waiting and pausing a few beats after I asked a question, and I was like, I didn't really do that on purpose. I was just kind of thinking about what I needed to do next because no one was answering. But he said because I waited a little bit, 2 to 3 more students responded. So he was like, silence is good. I know it's a little awkward, but you'll get used to it. And during that time, I did think about how I could pivot the question to make it sound more direct instead of abstract. And at that point, they could answer the questions if I made it a lot more simpler, because after they answered the easier question, then it was also a lot easier to answer the question that I had originally asked. So that was lesson 10 and 11. It's okay to be silent and wait awkwardly and stare at them for a little bit. And 11, don't be afraid to pivot as needed based on what you're noticing and how caught up the kids are on the reading and if they're really understanding what you're asking. So that was Tuesday. Really fabulous day. I was pretty satisfied. Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, oh my gosh, lesson planning is so difficult and it takes a long time. I think the hardest part is just writing the objectives, finding state standards, and coming up with discussion questions. And I luckily did look up some good stuff online. A lot of teachers have good stuff, but that's one thing I learned about the entire week. It takes me 2 to 3 hours every night. Today I've been working on something all day, but I know this is just because it's the first round of me teaching ever. My teacher said it gets easier and you reuse stuff, change things as you go on, but for the most part it stays the same. I did a really cool thing, which I mentioned last week a little bit, the spotlight thing where I included other students' answers and other students could copy their work in a way, like their quotes, and use their examples and things like that. Not totally copy, but mostly just copy their quotes. That's what I told them to do. Um, I think they really liked it. Their anxieties eased a little bit, and I think from that experience, I learned lesson 12 that it's okay to change your mind on an assignment. So that's kind of partially why I did the spotlight moment, because another student was upset about the amount of quotes they needed to find. But then I was thinking about, I can reduce one section of the amount of quotes they need. Like for Hassan, I said they needed 10, but I was like, he's kind of gone halfway through the book, like within the first 10 chapters. I think 5 quotes is enough. Or I said that you don't have to write all your quotes down on this specific graphic organizer. If you'd rather type it up, that's fine. If you'd rather use sticky notes in your book, that's totally cool too. Do what works for you. I just need to make sure that you're still getting 3 to 7 quotes on each theme and idea, and you're still writing a couple bullet points or ideas about each quote. Because I wanted to meet them where they were and not force them to fit what I think they need, because they know themselves best. Some people like to write, some people like to type. It's easier for them. So my teacher was saying that it's good that I can change and pivot the assignment as needed, because then it shows that I care about my students' opinions, which I do. But I'm not changing it to the point where it's like it's easier for them, but it's easier for them to access and do. I felt a little bit unconfident on Wednesday. I don't know why. Maybe I was just tired. But my teacher said that that's okay. He says I don't need to worry at all because I'm very knowledgeable and passionate about what I'm teaching, which I'm glad that comes across, because that was one thing I was worried about. Like, am I even qualified to teach? But he said, because you're thinking about a million things, like the question you need to ask, or responding to another student and connecting their ideas and all that, like you're thinking about 10 million things at once. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, but just know your own assessment of how you're doing at that very moment is probably incorrect, and you're doing a lot better than you believe. So I would say that's lesson 13, that, get out of your head. Imposter syndrome is very real, but that doesn't make it very true. So, yeah. Thursday was an okay day. Had a little bit of a classroom management awakening. I haven't had any issues at all with like students talking or being rude or disrespectful, and they're not being rude or disrespectful. They're being kids, and kids like to talk. So my period 2 has a lot of teenage boys, which, like, they're very nice. They're very nice and intelligent kids, except they kind of like talk a lot with each other, and they're also like, they're really tall, and they're all like athletic, and I'm just like a short person that doesn't like to yell and is very calm and is also very nice. So it's tough for me to just be like, hey guys, can we stop talking and listen to what our peers are saying? And it takes me a few times for them to like hear that out and listen, which I need to learn to not ask a question. Like, this isn't something that I want them to do, but I need them to stop talking. So instead of saying, can we stop talking, I should be like, let's stop talking. Let's keep side conversations to a minimum. Like, let's pay attention. Because then my issue is like, I don't want to sound desperate, and I do sound desperate because I want them to listen. So I think lesson 14, which is gonna be like a thing for a few years, I believe, is classroom management takes time, and I need to find that balance of, I'm not their friend, I'm an adult authority figure in their life, and I want them to do their best, and I care about them, and they need to listen to me because I am the teacher in the room. So it's a balance. My teacher does a really good job with it, and he was like, it took me years to get used to this and stuff, so it'll come to you, don't worry. I was like, okay. A big dub of the week, my favorite dub of the week, was a student came back during like our free period at the end of the day, and he was like, Miss Carr, like, I'm not understanding this book. I don't get chapters 10 through 14. Can you help me? Like, can we walk through it? And I was like, absolutely. So we spent 20 to like 30 minutes just talking about the book, I basically went through my slides again, but then I gave him more context and picked out more quotes for him to look at, and we just talked about it, and it was really fun. But it just felt really satisfying that, I don't know, like, he felt comfortable to come to me, admit that he doesn't really understand what's happening, and to like he wants to talk about it. Like that takes a lot of vulnerability and courage to do that in his free period, which he didn't have to do. So, really lovely moment that I had with a student. Um, Friday was Fun Friday. My teacher told me on Thursday, like, maybe you should bring in like a little treat for them. They've been doing well. And I totally forgot to mention, sorry, I was observed on Thursday. I did perfectly. So the kids were great. I told them like I was getting observed, so if I'm a little different, it's because I'm nervous and I want to do well. And I just told them to be who they are because they're great. But yeah, our first period was fantastic. And, I got everyone munchkins and they really enjoyed it. They were really appreciative, as they are because they're really nice kids. We did another spotlight moment because I had them do a fun group activity the day before. We played Imposter, which, if you don't know the game, it's like you have a group of people, one person is the imposter. They don't know what the word is, but they have to guess what the word is based on what everyone else is saying. So, for example, if the word is apple, 3 people know it's apple, one person doesn't. The 3 people that know have to describe an apple or like things about an apple. Like someone might say pie, 'cause apple pie. Someone might say stem, because there's a stem, and then someone might say tree. And then the imposter has to guess, like, okay, pie, stem, tree, and then they might say, like, seed. So you have to guess who is the odd one out. So we played it with the kite runner. So we did, like, themes like guilt, or we did a mirror, we did slingshot, things like that. And that was really fun because the majority of them played. And the only reason we got to play was because I did a little mini entrance quiz. Basically, I asked them one question. It was, what was the big plot twist in chapter 17 of The Kite Runner? If you know, you know. And first period did perfectly, second period didn't, but they still got 80%. Like the class as a whole got 80% right, so they could play. So that was just a great way to just switch things up and show my appreciation for the kids, because they have been really fabulous, and I'm really sad that my time is almost over. I have a really short week this week. I'm going to a conference from Wednesday to Sunday, so you'll get a video probably next week, maybe not on Sunday, from Monday through like half of Wednesday. So overall, once again, a 10 out of 10 week. Week 6, love it. Yeah, so I hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye!